brigands have run up these lanes. Keep to the side path. The hamlet is just ahead. Dispatch this thug in brutal fashion, that all may hear of your arrival. And now, the darkness holds dominion, black as death. A fortune, waiting to be spent. Leave nothing unchecked. There is much to be found in forgotten places. An ambush. Send these vermin a message. The rightful owner has returned, and their kind is no longer welcome. Precision and power. Great is the weapon that cuts on its own. As the fiend falls, a faint hope blossoms. Welcome home, such as it is. This squalid hamlet, these corrupted lands, they are yours now, and you are bound to them. Women and men, soldiers and outlaws, fools and corpses. All will find their way to us now that the road is clear. A mecca of madness and morbidity. Your work begins. The cost of preparedness, measured now in gold, later in blood. Executed with impunity. Another one falls. Remind yourself that overconfidence is a slow and insidious killer. As the light gains purchase, spirits are lifted and purpose is made clear. As the fiend falls, a faint hope blossoms. Press this advantage. Give them no quarter. A powerful blow. Ghoulish horrors. Brought low and driven into the mud. Confidence surges as the enemy crumbles. Continue the onslaught. Destroy them all. Their formation is broken. Maintain the offensive. Curious is the trap maker's art, his efficacy unwitnessed by his own eyes. Even the cold stone seems bent on preventing passage. We dug for months, years, an eternity. And we were rewarded with madness. The fiends must be driven back. And what better place to begin than the seat of our noble line? Wealth beyond measure, awarded to the brave and the foolhardy alike. Another abomination cleansed from our lands. Another one falls. A trifling victory, but a victory nonetheless. The match is struck. A blazing star is born. Executed with impunity. Festering fear consumes the mind. Continue the onslaught. Destroy them all. A brilliant confluence of skill and purpose. Their formation is broken. Maintain the offensive. More bones return to rest. Devils remanded to their abyss.
You answered the latter. Now, like me, you are a part of this place.
Make no mistake, we will face ever greater threats. Our soldiers must be ready. Corruption has soaked the soil, sapping all good life from these groves. Let us burn out this evil. Nature herself, a victim to the spreading corruption, malformed with misintent. Press this advantage. Give them no quarter. A death by inches. A dizzying blow to body and brain. Confidence surges as the enemy crumbles. Such a terrible assault cannot be left unanswered.
Monstrous size has no intrinsic merit, unless inordinate exsanguination be considered a virtue. Slowly, gently. This is how a life is taken.
Corruption has soaked the soil, sapping all good life from these groves. Let us burn out this evil.
Continue the onslaught. Destroy them all. Slowly, gently. This is how a life is taken.
The slow death, unforeseen, unforgiving. These nightmarish creatures can be felled. They can be beaten. Driving out corruption is an endless battle, but one that must be fought.
In time, you will know the tragic extent of my failings.
Shoot, bandage, and pillage. The dancing steps of war. The cobwebs have been dusted, the pews set straight. The abbey calls to the faithful. The bellows blast once again. The forge stands ready to make weapons of war. They breed quickly down there in the dark, but perhaps we can slay them even faster.
Decimated. Their formation is broken. Maintain the offensive. Be wary. Triumphant pride precipitates a dizzying fall. Obliterated.
Confidence surges as the enemy crumbles. Executed with impunity. Begone, fiend!
Success so clearly in view. Or is it merely a trick of the light?
Glittering gold, trinkets and baubles, paid for in blood.
A death by inches. Another one falls.
Another abomination, cleansed from our lands.
Back to the pit.
Press this advantage. Give them no quarter.
Continue the onslaught. Destroy them all.
Their squeals fade. Their confidence is shaken. In truth, I cannot tell how much time has passed since I sent that letter.
These salt-soaked caverns are teeming with pelagic nightmares. They must be flushed out. Their formation is broken. Maintain the offensive. Eradicated. Annihilated. Ghoulish horrors, brought low and driven into the mud.
Packs laden with loot are often low on supplies.
Another one falls.
Great is the weapon that cuts on its own. This expedition at least promises success. Impressive haul, if you value such things. Obliterated. Destroyed.
Back to the pit.
Press this advantage. Give them no quarter.
Ornaments, neatly ordered, lovingly admired.
Confidence surges as the enemy crumbles.
Decimated. Success so clearly in view. Or is it merely a trick of the light? Continue the onslaught. Destroy them all.
As the fiend falls, a faint hope blossoms.
Seize this momentum. Push on to the task's end. Their cursed champion falls.
As victories mount, so too will resistance.
At last, wholesome marine life. A fever of willful determination sweeps through the barracks. A lawman and his faithful beast. A bond forged by battle and bloodshed. I knew all these paths once. Now they are as twisted as my own ambitions.
Watch your step. Nature herself, a victim to the spreading corruption, malformed with misintent. The match is struck. A blazing star is born. Continue the onslaught. Destroy them all. Their formation is broken. Maintain the offensive. A death by inches. As the fiend falls, a faint hope blossoms. Another abomination cleansed from our lands. Executed with impunity. Begone, fiend! This expedition at least promises success. Another one falls. Back to the pit. The blood quickens. A trifling victory, but a victory nonetheless. Every cleared path and charted route reduces the isolation of our troubled estate. There is indeed no better place for those in search of rarities and forgotten lore. The smell of rotting fish is almost unbearable. A spark without kindling is a goal without hope. As the light gains purchase, spirits are lifted and purpose is made clear.
Another mariner, another misfortune.
Glittering gold, trinkets and baubles, paid for in blood. In Radiance, may we find victory. Begone, fiend!
Continue the onslaught. Destroy them all.
As the fiend falls, a faint hope blossoms. Press this advantage. Give them no quarter. Confidence surges as the enemy crumbles. The way is lit. The path is clear. We require only the strength to follow it. Their formation is broken. Maintain the offensive. Annihilated. Remind yourself that overconfidence is a slow and insidious killer. Death waits for the slightest lapse in concentration. Destroyed. Ghoulish horrors, brought low and driven into the mud. Mind that such missteps are the exception, and not the rule. We will find all manner of great and terrible things in this watery tomb. The poor caretaker. I fear his long-standing duties here have affected him. To prosecute our war against the swine, we must first scout their squalid homes. Destroyed. Obliterated. As the fiend falls, A faint hope blossoms. In Radiance, may we find victory. The way is lit. The path is clear. We require only the strength to follow it.
Annihilated. Another one falls.
Confidence surges as the enemy crumbles. Glittering gold, trinkets and baubles, paid for in blood. Such blockages are unsurprising. These tunnels predate even the earliest settlers. The twisting tunnels seem a little less impossible.
In time, you will know the tragic extent of my failings.
A strict regimen is paramount if one is to master the brutal arithmetic of combat. The fiends must be driven back. And what better place to begin than the seat of our noble line? If only treasure could staunch the flow of otherworldly corruption. Confusion, nerves, and panic. Begone, fiend! Back to the pit. Confidence surges as the enemy crumbles. Packs laden with loot are often low on supplies. Annihilated. Their formation is broken. Maintain the offensive. As the fiend falls, a faint hope blossoms. Success so clearly in view. Or is it merely a trick of the light? A full pack often attracts unwanted attention. Another abomination cleansed from our lands. Executed with impunity. Powerful blow. A time to perform beyond one's limits. Press this advantage. Give them no quarter. Continue the onslaught. Destroy them all. Room by room, hall by hall, we reclaim what is ours. They meet in secret, that none may know the horrifying depths of their enquiries. To prosecute our war against the swine, we must first scout their squalid homes. A spark without kindling is a goal without hope. The darkness holds much worse than mere trickery and boogeymen.
Masterfully executed.
Unnerved, unbalanced. Press this advantage. Give them no quarter. A death by inches. The light, the promise of safety. A victory. Perhaps the turning point. These nightmarish creatures can be felled. They can be beaten. If only treasure could staunch the flow of otherworldly corruption. As the light gains purchase, spirits are lifted, and purpose is made clear. The match is struck. A blazing star is born. A brilliant confluence of skill and purpose. Obliterated. The bigger the beast, the greater the glory. Seize this momentum. Push on to the task's end. 'The 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 'The
handsome reward for a task well performed.
Decimated. Eradicated. As the fiend falls, a faint hope blossoms. The swinefolk's labyrinth may yet prove to be navigable. Women and men, soldiers and outlaws, fools and corpses. All will find their way to us now that the road is clear. Fan the flames, mold the metal. We are raising an army. Even the fiercest beast will lay down when it is not eaten. Steal their food. As the fiend falls, a faint hope blossoms. Decimated. Ghoulish horrors, brought low and driven into the mud. The way is lit, the path is clear. We require only the strength to follow it.
A handsome reward for a task well performed.
A death by inches. Slowly, gently. This is how a life is taken. Remind yourself that overconfidence is a slow and insidious killer. Our supplies are replenished. The soldiers will feast tonight.
A modest offering from those few surrounding farms as yet untouched by the spreading calamity.
At home in wild places, she is a stalwart survivor and a strict instructor. These salt-soaked caverns are teeming with pelagic nightmares. They must be flushed out. Continue the onslaught. Destroy them all. A devastating blow. A death by inches. A trifling victory, but a victory nonetheless. The pungent odor abates. The things are driven back.
Curiosity, interest, and obsession. Mile markers on my road to damnation.
My lofty position wasn't always accompanied by the fear of office. And there was a time when I could walk the streets or raise a glass in the tavern without concern for molestation. Faithful as the tide, one precocious village waif made it her hobby to shadow my every errand. It was charming then, troublesome later. I always wondered what became of the unfortunate little waif. Decimated. A death by inches. As victories mount, so too will resistance. A spark without kindling is a goal without hope. The light, the promise of safety. Ancient traps lie in wait, unsprung and thirsting for blood. Finding the stuff is only the first test. Now it must be carried home. Slowly, gently. This is how a life is taken. Obliterated. Their formation is broken. Maintain the offensive. In Radiance, may we find victory. The aquatic devils have remade the poor girl in their image. She is their queen and their slave. Seafaring trade, the lifeblood of any port, can resume again now that the routes are safe. There is a great horror beneath the manor. A crawling chaos that must be destroyed. Pace out the halls of your lineage once familiar, now foreign. Back to the pit. Press this advantage. Give them no quarter. Executed with impunity. Finding the stuff is only the first test. Now it must be carried home. The match is struck. A blazing star is born. In Radiance, may we find victory. Glittering gold, trinkets and baubles, paid for in blood. Begone, fiend! Decimated. Continue the onslaught. Destroy them all. Another abomination cleansed from our lands. The great ruins belong to us, and we will find whatever secrets they hold. Windows and doors will be bolted. Tonight, something haunts the dark. Recover these lost shipments of rarities, that we may prevent them from falling into even less scrupulous hands. As the light gains purchase, spirits are lifted, and purpose is made clear. Confidence surges as the enemy crumbles. Their formation is broken. Maintain the offensive. The match is struck. A blazing star is born.
Begone, fiend!
Slowly, gently. This is how a life is taken. Glittering gold, trinkets and baubles, paid for in blood.
A decisive pummeling.
Great is the weapon that cuts on its own. The slow death, unforeseen, unforgiving. Success so clearly in view. Or is it merely a trick of the light? Press this advantage. Give them no quarter. A death by inches. Seize this momentum. Push on to the task's end. The way is lit. The path is clear. We require only the strength to follow it. Continue the onslaught. Destroy them all. Obliterated. As the fiend falls, a faint hope blossoms. If only treasure could staunch the flow of otherworldly corruption. A finely crafted instrument of butchery and bloodshed. Yours for the taking. Mastery over life and death was chief among my early pursuits. I began in humility, but my ambition was limitless. Who could have divined the prophetic import of something as unremarkable as a twitch in the leg of a dead rat? A devil walks these halls. Only the mad or the desperate go in search of him. Continue the onslaught. Destroy them all. A death by inches. These nightmarish creatures can be felled. They can be beaten. Slowly, gently. This is how a life is taken. Great is the weapon that cuts on its own. Press this advantage. Give them no quarter. A victory. Perhaps the turning point. Destroyed. This expedition at least promises success.
A handsome reward for a task well performed.
Another abomination, cleansed from our lands. Confidence surges as the enemy crumbles. A trifling victory, but a victory nonetheless.
Annihilated. Back to the pit.
As the fiend falls, a faint hope blossoms.
Eradicated. Success so clearly in view. Or is it merely a trick of the light? Their formation is broken. Maintain the offensive. Their cursed champion falls.
The light, the promise of safety. Towering, fierce, terrible. Nightmare-made material. With no living sinew to actuate them, will these walking bones finally fail?
You answered the letter. Now, like me, you are a part of this place.
The fiends must be driven back. And what better place to begin than the seat of our noble line? Another abomination, cleansed from our lands.
Their formation is broken. Maintain the offensive. Ghoulish horrors, brought low and driven into the mud.
Decimated. Press this advantage. Give them no quarter. Executed with impunity. Back to the pit.
Begone, fiend!
A brilliant confluence of skill and purpose. More bones returned to rest. Devils remanded to their abyss.
We dug for months, years, an eternity, and we were rewarded with madness. Prying eyes had become a nuisance along the old road, and so I undertook to receive my most curious deliveries by way of marine shipments. A sheltered jetty was accessible by a narrow stone stair off the back of the manor, and a discreet system of pulleys could hoist even the heaviest prizes up the rock face from a securely tied dinghy below. The poor devils, chained and drowning for eternity.
Press this advantage. Give them no quarter.
Annihilated.
Remind yourself that overconfidence is a slow and insidious killer. As the fiend falls, a faint hope blossoms. Unnerved, unbalanced.
Continue the onslaught. Destroy them all.
The slow death, unforeseen, unforgiving.
Be wary. Triumphant pride precipitates a dizzying fall.
As the light gains purchase, spirits are lifted and purpose is made clear. Even in death, the captain shouts his orders, and the crew obeys.
precision, and power. A powerful blow. Confusion, nerves, and panic. Finally, a sailor's death for captain and crew. Fitting. Finally, the serum is working, and the side effects are manageable. Some may fall, but their knowledge lives on. The ways and rituals of blood sacrifice are difficult to master. Those from beyond require a physical vessel if they are to make the crossing into our reality. The timing of the chants is imperative. Without the proper utterances at precise intervals, the process can fail spectacularly. A nameless abomination. A testament to my failures. It must be destroyed. A moment of respite. A chance to steel oneself against the coming horrors. The light. The promise of safety. Ringing ears, blurred vision. The end approaches. Their formation is broken. Maintain the offensive. As the light gains purchase, spirits are lifted, and purpose is made clear. It is a travesty, a blundering mountain of hatred and rage. Inspiration and improvement. Eradicated.
Impressive. The thing is even more horrible in death. Liquefaction cannot come soon enough. I see something long absent in the sunken faces of passers-by. A glimmer of hope. My zeal for blood rituals and summoning rites had begun to ebb, as each attempt invariably brought only failure and disappointment. Progress was halting, and the rapidly accumulating surplus of wasted flesh had become burdensome. The thing is more terrible than I can describe. An incoherent jumble of organ, sinew, and bone. Gathered close in tenuous firelight and uneasy companionship. The match is struck. A blazing star is born. Powerful blow. Annihilated. Well struck. A death by inches. Decimated. Remind yourself that overconfidence is a slow and insidious killer. Eradicated. Continue the onslaught. Destroy them all. A trifling victory, but a victory nonetheless. Squirming, contorting, and ever-expanding. This horror must be unmade. Ringing ears, blurred vision. The end approaches. It is as grotesque in death as it was in life. This expedition at least promises success. The town is alive with wild merriment. and desperate jubilation.
Excavations beneath the manor were well underway when a particularly ragged indigent arrived in the hamlet. This filthy, toothless miscreant boasted an uncanny knowledge of my ambitions and prognosticated publicly that, left unchecked, I would soon unleash doom upon the world. The echoes of his mindless tittering reverberate maddeningly. Even the cold stone seems bent on preventing passage. A fortune, waiting to be spent. Executed with impunity. Another abomination cleansed from our lands. The light, the promise of safety. As the fiend falls, a faint hope blossoms. Destroyed. Be wary. Triumphant pride precipitates a dizzying fall. Circle in the dark. The battle may yet be won. As the light gains purchase, spirits are lifted, and purpose is made clear. The ground quakes. Obliterated. Back to the pit. Glittering gold, trinkets and baubles, paid for in blood. Ornaments, neatly ordered, lovingly admired. The madman hides there, behind the pews, spouting his mindless drivel.
quickly the tide turns.
In life, his claims to recognition were dubious at best. In death, they are ridiculous.
A trifling victory, but a victory nonetheless. I can still see their angry faces as they stormed the manor. But I was dead before they found me, and the letter was on its way.
Once again, the stars are right. You cannot learn a thing you think you know. The degeneracy of the hamlet is nothing, I fear, when compared to the condition of surrounding acres.
Corruption has soaked the soil, sapping all good life from these groves. Let us burn out this evil. Nature herself, a victim to the spreading corruption, malformed with misintent. A decisive pummeling. Confidence surges as the enemy crumbles. As the fiend falls, a faint hope blossoms. Their formation is broken. Maintain the offensive. Another one falls. Begone, fiend! Back to the pit. Executed with impunity. Another abomination cleansed from our lands. The way is lit. The path is clear. We require only the strength to follow it. The match is struck. A blazing star is born. Continue the onslaught. Destroy them all. Great is the weapon that cuts on its own. Success so clearly in view. Or is it merely a trick of the light? All my life I could feel an insistent gnawing in the back of my mind. It was a yearning, a thirst for discovery that could be neither numbed nor sated. I had collected many rare and elusive volumes on ancient herbal properties, and was set to enjoy several weeks immersed in comfortable study. My work was interrupted, however, by a singularly striking young woman who insisted on repeated calls to the house. There is method in the wild corruption here. It bears a form both wretched and malevolent. Eradicated. Annihilated. Decimated. A time to perform beyond one's limits. A moment of respite. A chance to steel oneself against the coming horrors. As the light gains purchase, spirits are lifted, and purpose is made clear. Begone, fiend! These nightmarish creatures can be felled. They can be beaten. Back to the pit. Continue the onslaught. Destroy them all. Another one falls. Executed with impunity. Another abomination cleansed from our lands. Ghoulish horrors brought low and driven into the mud. The light, the promise of safety. In Radiance, may we find victory. Twisted and maniacal, a slathering testament to the powers of corruption. Leave her corpse to rot, consumed by the spores she spawned. The man is slave to the beast, and the beast is slave to the moon. I knew all these paths once. Now they are as twisted as my own ambitions. Nature herself, a victim to the spreading corruption, malformed with misintent. The match is struck. A blazing star is born. Eradicated. Their formation is broken. Maintain the offensive. The sin is not in being outmatched, but in failing to recognize it. The way is lit, the path is clear. We require only the strength to follow it. In Radiance, may we find victory. The light, the promise of safety. Paths and roads bring soldiers and supplies. Let them arrive unharried.
Your soldiers' minds are mired in malignancy. Fear has taken root.
I knew all these paths once. Now they are as twisted as my own ambitions.
Begone, fiend! Another one falls. Back to the pit. Seize this momentum. Push on to the task's end.
Finding the stuff is only the first test. Now it must be carried home. Nature herself, a victim to the spreading corruption, malformed with misintent. Another abomination, cleansed from our lands. Executed with impunity.
Their formation is broken. Maintain the offensive.
The way is lit. The path is clear. We require only the strength to follow it. As the fiend falls, a faint hope blossoms.
Ghoulish horrors, brought low and driven into the mud. Precision and power.
The will to fight falters.
A death by inches.
Obliterated.
Continue the onslaught. Destroy them all.
Confidence surges as the enemy crumbles. Press this advantage. Give them no quarter.
Success so clearly in view. Or is it merely a trick of the light?
Every cleared path and charted route reduces the isolation of our troubled estate.
Let me share with you the terrible wonders I have come to know. Simple folk are by their nature loquacious, and the denizens of the hamlet were no exception. It was not long before rumors of my morbid genius and secretive excavations began to fuel local legend. In the face of my increasingly egregious flaunting of public taboos, awe turned to ire, and demonstrations were held in the town square. The smell of sulfur and gunpowder hangs in the air. The war machine is close. Another one falls. Begone, fiend! Seize this momentum. Push on to the task's end. Annihilated.
Another abomination cleansed from our lands.
Remind yourself that overconfidence is a slow and insidious killer. A spark without kindling is a goal without hope. In Radiance, may we find victory. Destroyed. A death by inches. As victories mount, so too will resistance. A handsome reward for a task well performed. Nature herself, a victim to the spreading corruption, malformed with misintent. Executed with impunity. Back to the pit. These nightmarish creatures can be felled. They can be beaten. As the fiend falls, a faint hope blossoms. Great is the weapon that cuts on its own. Slowly, gently. This is how a life is taken.
Death waits for the slightest lapse in concentration.
Monster's size has no intrinsic merit, unless inordinate exsanguination be considered a virtue. A marvel of technology, an engine of destruction.
Well struck. A powerful blow.
Ringing ears, blurred vision. The end approaches.
Press this advantage. Give them no quarter.
A corpse of twisted metal and splintered wood, at home amongst the headstones. Ghoulish horrors, brought low and driven into the mud. Let the organ notes ring out from the abbey. The sisters are gathering.